Hey friends, welcome to Living the KG Life, a pixie dust-filled podcast. On today's episode, we have Katie Vining with us, who's going to talk to us all about the backstage magic of being a cast member at Walt Disney World. So stick around, it's going to be great. All right. Oh my God. I am so excited. Katie Vining is here with us. So Katie, I don't even want to waste like one more minute. We're going to hop right in, kick us off and tell us who you are and what you do.
Okay, so hi, I'm Katie. If you don't know me, I am Kristen's quarter sister. So we share our sister Jen, if you heard her podcast episode. So we have always said that we are quarter sisters.
Yes.
We talk just as much as any of us talk to our other siblings. So definitely like a really fun relationship that we have. I am an almost 8-year cast member, or I was an almost 8-year cast member turned full-time content creator on YouTube. Definitely still an avid Disney lover and a proud Disney adult. I don't care what anybody has to say about being a Disney adult, but I am a content creator on YouTube. I create shop with me and home decor videos on like seasonal decor. I love being the eyes and the window shopper for people who can't necessarily go to the stores, people who maybe have autoimmune diseases, injuries, other like illnesses, ailments for reasons they can't go to the store. So that is why I love to do what I do. But basically, I'm just my subscribers' eyes in stores like Target, HomeGoods, Walmart, and I just love to search out like good deals, seasonal decor, and give home decorating tips. So that's kind of what I do now. I do that full time. So it's definitely way different than my Disney days, but it's just as fun.
I love it. And we'll make sure to drop some links down into the show notes for Katie's YouTube channel. If you, like she said, like to shop at any of those stores, but the amount of DIY decor inspiration that I've gotten from your videos is incredible.
Oh, good. That makes me so happy.
Yes. I feel like every time after I watch a video, I'm like, oh man, I want to redo my whole bedroom. I want to redo my whole living room. I need to go redo my foyer. So all of her content
Imagine
is
like
awesome.
living in that space. Like Brian is like, are you ever just like happy with what we have? Or like, do you always just want to get new stuff? And it's so hard because I'm looking at new stuff all the time. So I'm always getting like new ideas, but I'm trying to be grateful for like everything we already have and not keep buying a bunch of new stuff.
The inspo is just everywhere.
It's flowing.
So in today's episode, we are going to talk about your time as a Disney cast member and talk to us a little bit about, people probably hear the phrase backstage. So give us kind of like a quick explanation of what backstage is, and then we'll talk about your journey in becoming a cast member.
Okay, so backstage is anything that you don't see as a guest. So like anything you see as a guest, like all the rides, Main Street, like anywhere that you can imagine that you go to at Disney is considered on stage. And then anything you don't see is considered backstage. So like all the kitchens at the restaurants, break rooms, the tunnels under the Magic Kingdom, anything that you don't see as a guest is considered backstage. But the backstage area is like very grungy. It's definitely not at all magical like the onstage areas. Onstage areas are beautiful. And then the second you go backstage, it's just like any other place you'd work, like any other kitchen at a restaurant or like retail room at a store. So that is what backstage is. It's just anything you don't see as a guest.
Love it. I actually didn't realize that even like kitchens and things like that were considered backstage too.
Yeah. Disney is very, 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 very strict about like backstage areas and like the conduct that you have to follow backstage. Like you're not allowed to take any pictures backstage, even if it's like a picture that you take like with your manager, like on your last day or anything like that can't be posted on social media because there could be like information or like flyers or other things like that in the background that is not allowed to be seen. So it's a very strict policy that you will get terminated over if you post a picture backstage.
Oh, geez. That would, I feel like my heart rate just went up, just like stress, just thinking about that.
It's really, really stressful because you do see a lot of really cool things backstage. You're like, oh my God, I wish I could like take a picture and show my mom. But like, if you get caught taking a picture, like you could also lose your job. Like you'd see the Magic Kingdom Christmas tree broken up into 8 different pieces, which is a big thing that you see. Yeah, you'd see it like because they put it up into different parts, or like the festival booths at Epcot was like a big one. Like they would store them backstage. And you can't take any pictures of anything that you see backstage. So,
which is crazy.
It's always really hard because you see really cool stuff that like other people don't get to see, but you can't share it with anybody. It's just like a special thing for cast members.
And I feel like, so for some of the Run Disney events, they take you backstage. And I feel like what they've done is they bring things out that are okay for you to see, like floats from the parade, or like we saw like a log from Splash Mountain, like things that are like, okay, you can take a picture of this and then keep running.
Yeah. They don't want you, they want to distract you. So like exactly like you said, like the parade floats, like they'll put this like beautiful parade float and they're like, look at this. And they don't want you to look at anything else around it because it's just not magical.
And I will fall
It
right
makes
into
the
that
magic
trap.
happen. Yeah, it makes the magic happen, but it is not as pretty as anything you see as a guest.
Amazing. So let's talk about your journey becoming a cast member. How did it start? You said you were with Disney for 8 years, which is such a long time and so much of your adulthood. So talk to us about how did it start and what kind of led you to stay at Disney for so long?
So me working for Disney kind of goes back to high school. I had a teacher who actually did the Disney college program, like when it had first started, and she just thought that it would be a really good fit for me and just thought that I would really like it. So she kind of told me about it for when I went to college, the Disney college program. And I had looked into it and I decided like from that moment I wanted to do it, but I knew I wanted to do it closer to the end of my college career because I knew that I was probably going to end up wanting to stay there. That's what normally happens. So I started the college program in 2014. I did the fall 2014 semester of the college program. So I lived and worked in Disney for 4 months, which we are going to do a whole episode on the college program. So I'm not going to get into that any more than just that. After the college program, I did go home begrudgingly. I did not want to go home, but I did want to finish my degree. So I went home for about a year and then moved back in May of 2016. And I've been here ever since. When I came back as a server at the Grand Floridian. And then being a server at the Grand Floridian, I actually became a management intern. So that's the next level up from the college program. So I can go through those different levels when we do that episode. On my management internship, I was a manager in the Germany pavilion, which was the most exciting thing to find out that I was going to be in Epcot because it's definitely one of my favorites. I have such a special place in my heart for the World Showcase. From there, I went to Disney Springs and I opened up a few of the restaurants that you probably know and love in Disney Springs as an opening manager. Then I was sent back to Epcot to do festivals and I was in the Italy Pavilion. Then I went to Tiffin's. So I moved from there to Tiffin's and that was my last location.
Incredible. I feel like, especially being in the World Showcase, Germany and Italy are kind of like right in one of those spots where like you can be pretty juiced, if you will, by the time you get there.
Right.
Did you see some wild drink around the world peeps during your time there?
Yes. So we would consider, so the part of the World Showcase that I worked in is called World Showcase Center. So they are broken up by East, West, and Center. That's definitely like another cast member type term, or they're known as different zones. So there's color zones and then East, West, and Center. World Showcase Center, in my opinion, is definitely the hardest place to work in the World Showcase because, like you said, a lot of people have already had a lot to drink. Because no matter which way you come from, if you are team start in Canada, team start in Mexico, which is like a whole other debate, you're going to hit a lot of really big boozy countries. Like you're either going to get rocked by a Mexico margarita or go down the Japan sake road and you're just screwed either way, I guess. Yeah. So by the time they got to me, yeah, most people were pretty drunk, but you would see like people playing beer pong off of the Germany fountain. That was a really popular thing people would do. Yeah. They would like set up like these games. It was crazy. We would always have to shut that down like immediately. One thing that was good about working in World Showcase Center was I think something that a lot of people don't realize is how much all the managers really communicate and work together in the whole park. Mm-hmm. We all have like the biggest group text you could ever imagine. We would have like massive group texts and people would do like bolos. So like be on lookout for specific guests who may be in our different zones of drinking. So Disney has, I feel like I'm exposing so many secrets.
I'm afraid of how many group chats I may have been on.
I feel like I'm exposing so many secrets. You need to call this episode like Disney Exposed. But there's like different zones for drinking. So like when you first start, like maybe a guest first or second drink, they'd be in like the green zone. Then in the yellow zone is where we start to offer like water, that sort of thing. And in the red zone is where you would get cut off. So we would have like bolos, like this guest, might be in the yellow zone, or this guest has been cut off. And you'd get really, really good at playing like Where's Waldo? Like I could pick anyone out of a crowd, hundreds of thousands of people at Food and Wine on what we would call a Food and Wine Saturday, which are like the craziest days of the entire year. And you could pick out one man in a striped shirt and already know that like he's cut off because you got a text message about it. So I've definitely seen some really crazy things. I've had some crazy experiences as well. Something I've never like talked about publicly is that I was actually assaulted by a guest when I worked in the Germany Pavilion. That's actually that's actually why I left and went to Disney Springs. He was just like extremely intoxicated, which like obviously does not excuse his actions, but it is something that the managers and cast members deal with like on a daily basis. Verbal assault, physical assault, and abuse from guests when they're intoxicated is just something that you deal with when you work in the World Showcase. And it's definitely like not a magical side of working there, but it's definitely the truth.
That's awful. And I feel like it's one of those places, like you said, it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be having a good time. Like there is a very fine line too of like being aware of your settings. And I know I joked around like, I hope I'm never on a group chat, but like,
yeah,
I can't imagine getting to that level of anything, I guess, in Epcot or in any park or really anywhere in life. But like that's awful. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
It is okay. It's definitely like part of it. It happened so long ago. I ended up back at Epcot. I also felt the same way at Disney Springs because at Disney Springs, it's such like a heavy drinking environment. So it kind of felt similar. But yeah, I feel like definitely my biggest tips if you don't want to stand out at Epcot are don't ever go wearing a bunch of matching shirts. That's an automatic red flag. Like a bachelorette shirt, birthday party shirt, the drinking around the world shirts where like you want people to check off things on the back of your shirt. That's definitely how you're going to stand out. Wearing the China Pavilion headbands, if you know what I'm talking about, like the ninja headbands that people will get, or the sombreros from the Mexican Pavilion, those are definitely going to make you stand out, but they will be watching you for sure.
They will be keeping an eye on you. Noted for my next trips.
Yeah, just blend. You just want to blend. If you're just there to have a good time, but like you want to drink around the world successfully, just like do your best to just blend in. You do not want to stand out.
Oh, geez. That's going to be a lot to think about. So everybody listening, make sure you blend in and behave yourselves and be nice to the cast members. I feel like that is something that is not said enough and like needs to just like always be nice to cast members. The cast members are the ones that truly make the magic happen in the parks. And you need to remember that. Like that's where it's coming from and really need to appreciate that.
For sure. Please. That's all we ask. Just be nice. We are humans too.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about like the magic side of it. So you obviously were there for, like you did 8 years. You had lots of different experiences. What was it that made you want to stay a cast member after your college program?
I just loved Florida as well. Like besides for Disney, I knew I wanted to stay. Like right when I got there, I was like, okay, this is for me. Like I want to be here. I love Florida. I love Disney. And I just like couldn't get enough of it. I will say there's definitely like two types of cast members or maybe a couple different kinds of cast members, but like there's cast members who work at Disney because they love it. Like they move their entire lives to work there and revolve their lives around it, kind of becomes like a part of their personality. Me. And then there's people who work there because they live in the area and it's like the best company to work for, one of the best companies to work for in the area. And they don't care about Disney culture. They don't go to the parks on their days off or like use their perks. So there's definitely like two extremes. And I just loved it. I was and still am like so dedicated to the magic. And I feel like going to the parks on my days off and when I was working there was what reminded me why I wanted to be there and like why I wanted to stay, because I still cry every single time I see Mickey Mouse. And there's just like so many random little Disney things that just instantly make me tear up because I just love it so much. So I just wanted to stay because I just felt like I had so much left that I wanted to do there. And now that I don't work there, I wanted to stay because I just love Florida and I can't live away from the parks. Like I cannot move away from the parks. I need to be like within 30 minutes.
Oh my gosh, imagine coming back up here to Boston and being a 3.5 hour flight away.
No, I can't. I mean, I did move home for like a year. And even in that year, I visited so many times. And I knew like the end goal was to end up back there once I graduated. And I did move back right after I graduated. But yeah, I can't imagine, especially like after you already like lived here and experienced like the bubble, because it definitely is like a bubble. I can't imagine.
Well, I feel like even when you go on vacation, like Jen and I talk about this a lot, when you leave that bubble, you're like, oh man, I'm going back to
Hmm.
real life. So like living there, you get to kind of
Yeah.
stay in. And it's great to hear that you still appreciate it. Cause I feel like sometimes it's very easy to get jaded when you're so close to something or you're able to do it so often. So that's great that
Hmm.
you still really love it and appreciate it.
I think that like COVID gave me a newfound appreciation for it as well, because
Yeah.
I mean, you have to remember, like, I was working at Disney with no plans to stop anytime soon. And they came into work and they were like, oh, COVID-19. Like, we didn't even call it COVID yet. And they were like, we're going to close for 2 weeks. And we were like, oh, 2 weeks off. Woohoo. Like, this is so awesome. Me and my work best friend at the time, Joanna, went around to every single person we work with and like, what do you want to accomplish into 2 weeks? And people were like, I want to clean up my garage. I want to do this. No one ever thought it would turn into like being closed for several months. Like if anyone ever told me that Disney was going to be closed for months, I never would have believed you. Ever, ever, ever. Like Disney does not close. They're open 365 a year unless there's like a hurricane coming right towards them. So it was just wild. Like I just never thought that I wouldn't work there. And then COVID happened and my life just completely changed. Like I can't even, couldn't have even like dreamt of my life to be the way that it is now, doing what I am now. And it was really hard to decide not to go back after COVID. But ultimately, I feel like I made the best decision, but it was just really crazy. Like, I just thought we were going to be closed for 2 weeks. And then it turned into me not working there ever, not necessarily ever again, but not for the foreseeable future, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah, and even on that note too, so you had been doing Disney vlogs, or every
Mm-hmm.
once in a while at least had done Disney vlogs, which kind of teed you up to be able to take on this new YouTube channel. So how did that transition happen? Was that something that like you immediately once kind of we knew that COVID was unfortunately here to stay for a while? Was Disney a part of that decision? How did that all work out?
So that's a really good question. So, yes, like you said, I was doing Disney vlogging. I wasn't doing Disney vlogging. I had actually kind of stopped my YouTube channel when I was working at Tiffin's because I had several guests that came in and asked for me specifically. They had like found out that I worked there and it kind of became a conflict of interest with Disney.
Yeah.
So if you haven't noticed, a lot of people who do Disney vlogging, they did work for Disney, but they don't anymore. And it's because it kind of comes to a point when you start to grow that they want you to choose. And for me at the time, I decided that I would have chose Disney because it was why I moved to Florida. I just loved it so much. And like, yeah, I loved my YouTube channel at the time, but not nearly as much as I loved Disney. So I quit my YouTube channel, kind of put it on the back burner. And then when COVID happened, that happened in March. And then in September, I decided I want to pick up the camera again and I just want to do something different. I didn't know I was going to end up doing the content that I did now. I kind of like fell into it and I just have kind of rolled with it since, but it's a good thing because I really love Target. So it worked out how much I love Target and Home Goods. But I just decided to pick up the camera again and I started doing what I'm doing now. And my YouTube channel just started to take off. And the money that I was able to start making from doing my YouTube videos was comparable, if not better, than what I was making at Disney.
Which is
So when the time
incredible.
came, yeah, it's crazy. So when the time came to make the decision to go back to Disney, I knew my call was coming. We were all assigned a number and they would like call back certain amounts of people and I could see that my number was coming up. And I just knew deep down that I couldn't continue to grow my YouTube channel and work at Disney because they were both so all encompassing. They
Yeah.
just both would have taken up all my time. So I had to make a choice and I just felt like YouTube was my future and Disney was amazing, but it was just not something that I saw myself doing forever anyways, which I don't really think I've told a lot of people, but my dream my whole life has been to settle down, have a family. And yes, I wanted to have some sort of job and have my own income as well as have a family, but I knew I would never work at Disney in the same capacity for my whole life. So it just kind of came down to, do I want to go back to Disney and take time away from something that's really growing and
Right.
I'm putting my heart into? Did I want to split up my time? Or did I want to really dive into YouTube and commit to it and see where it could take me, knowing that Disney's always going to be there?
Right.
I'm always going to be able to go back to Disney. I could easily go back with all the experience that I have and how much they need people. I knew that it would be fairly easy for me to get back into Disney if I decided that I hadn't made the right choice. And it's been 3 or 4 months, and I can still confidently say that I definitely feel like I made the right choice, even though it was really hard the day the phone call came in to say through all the tears to the recruiter on the phone, like, I'm going to part my ways with the company. Like, I decided to not join the company again. And that was really hard, but I know I definitely made the right decision, and Disney's always going to be there.
And like you said, you also still live down there. So you get to actually experience it as a guest and enjoy your time and like feel the magic still. Do you think you'll ever bring back some of the Disney vlogs? Or like, I know we've talked about even like the Disney Target kind of like collab that's going on with the Disney stores closing. What can we expect from your YouTube channel and like a Disney front?
So I have considered doing like YouTube memberships. So like a separate part of my YouTube channel where I do more vlogs. I am trying to keep my personal life off of YouTube because with what I do now, it's not really open for people's opinions other than people saying that I talk too loud or I talk too fast. When you put more of your life out on there, like it just opens up the door for like more opinions that I'm just really not interested in. Also, I chose YouTube. Brian, my boyfriend, did not choose YouTube. Our future family will not have chosen that. And so I think I'd rather just keep it private. So you probably won't be seeing any Disney stuff from me unless I decide to do a YouTube membership, which is like a whole separate part of my YouTube channel. But it's just tough because I'm so busy with my regular videos that on my one day of the week or once every 10 days when I get to go to the parks, I don't really want to film it.
Yeah,
I just want to enjoy it
and be present.
Yeah. So I won't say never say never, but definitely not right now.
I think that's a smart move. And I think where you're at in life in general too, of like making that conscious decision of like what you choose to share is what you want to share. And like you said, you're inviting people into your life in all sorts of capacities. So like being really conscious of that, I think is incredibly smart as well.
I was definitely burned. Like when I was first doing Disney vlogs, I shared every aspect of my life. Like I shared so much like of my struggles with that I was having at the time with my skin and with my past relationship. When that ended, I felt like I owed thousands of people an explanation because I had put so much of myself out there.
Right.
And I just never want to have to go through that again. So I would rather just share little blips that I feel comfortable sharing. And I definitely feel like I share more of my personal life on Instagram, at least a little bit more. And I do know that it's stuff that people want to see. I have a lot of messages that people are like, will you ever vlog again? Will you show more of your relationship? Will you show more of this? But I don't know. I just feel like I have to have boundaries with putting myself out there on the internet. And my relationship and my personal life with like my family and stuff is just so like sacred to me that I just am not comfortable sharing it on the internet.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that's really smart. And I think even just the way that kind of things shook out with taking a break from YouTube and then being able to come back, you can almost kind of like reinvent who you are and what you want to share.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been hard for the people who were here before.
Yeah.
Because they're like, well, I wasn't here for shopping content, but I stayed because I love you, which is like really, I'm so lucky that a lot of people decided to stay and stick it out with me for the little bits that I do share and for knowing what they know from me before. But I definitely feel like you said, like, I mean, I'm a different person than I was a couple years ago when I was making vlogs. My life is completely different. Right. So my content just reflects that and it's just different. And I do share like little blips that I feel comfortable with, but it's definitely like a big boundary that I've set to like not really share pretty much anything about our personal lives.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about just some kind of like experiences that you had as a cast member.
Okay.
What about, I feel like so many cast members have all sorts of like fun facts and kind of like, I know you mentioned a little bit about Backstage. Do you have a favorite Disney fun fact? Because you worked also just to clarify for Melissa, you worked at Walt Disney World, but you've
Mm-hmm.
been to other parks as well. So do you have a favorite fun fact of like Disney across the board? Could be the company, parks, anything that you're like, ooh, this is always a good fun Disney trivia fact.
I feel like my favorite like Disney trivia question is like how many bricks make up Cinderella Castle?
Oh, I love that one.
Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay, we'll give everybody a second to think about it.
Write
Insert
down your
Jeopardy
answers.
music. So actually 0 is the answer. There are 0 real bricks that make up Cinderella Castle. So I always think that that's a really funny or fun like trivia fact.
So what is
I
it
feel
made
like
of?
That's a really great question for Google. That I do not know. I don't know what it's made out of. Probably like plaster.
So it's just like it's like the facade, like the look of brick. It's not actually made of bricks.
Right. Mm-hmm. Another like fun Disney fact is that the Germany Pavilion was originally supposed to have a ride.
Where in the Germany Pavilion would they put a ride?
Right. They actually have it's actually attached to the Germany Pavilion, the room where the ride was supposed to be. And it's really creepy. I've been up there several times. It's like a rite of passage for the German cultural representatives, which if you didn't know, everyone who works in Epcot is actually from their country here on a visa to represent their country at Epcot. Maybe not right now during COVID, not right now, but in typical Disney times, everyone is actually from that country, but they would go up into that room and like draw pictures and write on the walls and stuff because it's not used for anything.
So cool.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a boat ride, similar to the May She Rest in Peace ride in the Norway Pavilion. Now it's the Frozen ride, Frozen Ever After, but it was supposed to be similar to that, but like a German version.
Interesting. Now, is that...
I have another one.
Oh, ready.
Okay, sorry, I have one more fun fact that I just thought of. I have a lot about the World Showcase because I did a project about the World Showcase to like teach everyone more about the World Showcase when I worked there. So the Africa Pavilion, it was supposed to be an original pavilion that opened with Epcot. They actually purchased the largest collection of African art for that pavilion. And then at the last second, when they started building everything, Africa had to pull out because it was very unsafe times to be sending people over to America. So they decided to not move forward with doing the program like the other countries did that we have right now.
Oh, that's so interesting. Now, do you know where it was supposed to go?
Well, exactly where it is.
Oh, it just would have been
so
like
the
a full...
Africa Outpost. Yeah. So the Africa Outpost that you cross when you go from China into the Germany Pavilion was supposed to be a whole Africa pavilion.
Wow. So cool. How about a favorite fun fact about cast member life?
Oh, I don't know. That's a really good question. I mean, there's like tons of like fun things that like you get to do. I mean, well, when you first become a cast member, you get to go through a class called Traditions, which is like very magical. You go into Magic Kingdom and they just kind of teach you like all about Disney and like their background and the 4 keys that we like, or now it's 5 keys that they run the whole company based off of. But in Traditions, Mickey Mouse is actually who gives you your first name tag.
Oh my God. I literally just got goosebumps.
That's definitely where you start drinking the Kool-Aid, like the Disney Kool-Aid is like in Traditions. There's something in that water that they serve in that classroom.
Oh my gosh. I'm literally, guys, I'm not joking. I'm like tearing up. That's incredible.
It's super magical. Like all of a sudden he like comes into the room and then like starts handing out everyone's like first name tags. And it's very magical. I've taken Traditions like 3 times and it's still magical.
Amazing. Now, do you have a favorite job that you had as a cast member?
My favorite job as a cast member was probably, my favorite location I ever worked was definitely working at Tiffin's, which was like my most recent location before COVID. I definitely think if COVID didn't happen, my life would be extremely different. I wouldn't have met Brian and everything. But Tiffin's is an incredible location filled with the most amazing people I've ever worked with at Disney. It's really different now. A lot of the managers don't work there anymore. But if I could go back, I would go back to like pre-COVID Tiffin's because it was the most amazing location.
And the food at Tiffin's was bomb because we went there on our trip that we all did December 2019 and the food was incredible.
So good. Whenever they would bribe me to work a double, I would make sure they gave me some food.
Feed me and I'm in.
Pretty much. I'd be like, I didn't bring food.
Now, you just mentioned that there's a bunch of cool stuff that you got to do as a cast member. So what would you say is like the coolest thing that you got to do in your time as a cast member?
The coolest thing I got to do during my time as a cast member was serve Neil Patrick Harris and his family.
NPH.
Yep. And his husband and their 2 kids. It was very magical. When, I guess, celebrities come in to eat, they try to pair you with like them with a server that they think they would like mesh really well with. And apparently they think that I mesh really well with Neil Patrick Harris and his family. So I got to serve them and it was such a fun experience. Like his kids were amazing. Of course, they're to be treated like any other guest, like no special treatment or anything. And it was just amazing. Yeah, they were so fun.
Ugh. And now he performs at Epcot too, right? During like
Yeah,
holiday
he
time?
does the candlelight processional. Yeah, the candlelight processional.
And I feel like he and
but-
his husband both are like, they're like big Disney people, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly, right?
Mm-hmm. They have their own personal VIP tour guide who has been like their VIP tour guide that they have every time for like 10 or 15 years. So he sat and ate with them. A lot of the times the VIP tour guide doesn't like eat with them, but they are so close with him that he sat and ate with them. And it was really fun. I got to serve like his husband, him, their 2 kids and the tour guide. And it was so fun.
Oh, I love that. And
Every time I went into the kitchen, I was like, oh my God.
There's also a drink named after him, I feel like in Mexico, right?
Oh yeah, he has his own margarita or something.
That's going to be on my list. So when I come down in December, let's find out where that drink is and get it.
Josie, if you heard that, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Josie, you heard nothing. So now we've said a couple times already, be nice to cast members. And it's one of those things where like you would think you wouldn't have to say that, but we'll say that's like rule number 1, be nice to cast members and like truly appreciate what they're doing for you to make your vacation or your time there really special. What would be another tip that you would give someone? It's their first time going to Walt Disney World. What would be like from a cast member perspective, one tip you would give a guest?
The biggest tip I have for guests that haven't been there before, or even if you've been there several times, is you're not going to be able to do it all. So pick a few things that you really want to do, or one thing each that you really want to do, and focus on those and just think of anything else that you get to do as a bonus.
That's such a smart way to think about it because then everything kind of feels extra. Everything feels even more special. If that's the icing on the cake, that's the sprinkles on the Mickey ice cream bar, which I also really want to check out when we go to Animal Kingdom because
the blue one, yes, we have to get it.
Yeah, they're like dipped in something blue.
Raspberry.
I've been dreaming about it since I've seen it on Instagram. So
yeah, we have to get it.
We're just going to make a list of all the things that we're going to have to go get. But I think that's such a great way to think about it of like, okay, here's what's a must do. And then here's whatever else we can do will be extra, will be great, will kind of like be that additional magic. How about a request as a former cast member? So not necessarily aside from like be a nice human, right? What would be something else that you would say, like, when you go to the parks, please do or don't do fill in the blank?
Please stop filming the fireworks with your iPhone. You can watch it on YouTube in 7K from a way better angle that you could ever imagine. So please, stop putting your children on your shoulders in the middle of Main Street and blocking me when I've been standing here for an hour. And stop filming the fireworks. Just enjoy them. That is like my biggest pet peeve is when you're like on Kilimanjaro safaris or watching the fireworks or watching a parade and you see so many people watching it through their screen when they could be experiencing it with their eyes. It like breaks my heart. I mean, I see people like FaceTiming with their family and like, trust me, on the other end, they're getting like it's not even coming through as like a clear picture. Like they're not enjoying it. They're just sitting there like smiling along, like having no idea what's going on. So just enjoy it and then watch it on YouTube when you go home. Kristen and I love to do that.
I was just going to say, Katie and I can very clearly vouch that these fireworks are on there, and I will not tell on this podcast ever how many times I have watched fireworks on YouTube at home.
Rip happily ever after.
That question's coming. Don't you worry.
Oh, okay.
Now, how about, do you have any regrets from your time as a cast member? Because 8 years is a long time to work at one place. And you've obviously been in different positions. We'll talk, like you said, about the college program in another episode. So make sure you want to hear all about Katie's time in the college program, to listen to that episode. But anything that you like wished you had done differently, or maybe even something that you wish that you did, like had the opportunity to do and didn't do, anything along those lines?
Yeah, one of my biggest regrets is I definitely wish I would have worked one of the parties at Magic Kingdom, either
Oh,
like the
that's a
Halloween
good one.
party or the Christmas parties. So those shifts are called treat shifts. So you can pick them up on the Disney Hub and they would like drop and a bunch of people would like pick them up. And I did pick one up one time, but I ended up releasing it because I have never worked at Magic Kingdom. I do feel like if I would have continued to work at Disney, I would have wanted to try to work at the Magic Kingdom because I do feel like it is a rite of passage for everyone that works at Disney that you have to do your time in Magic Kingdom. And I never got to work there. I definitely was more of a resorts person. I loved working at the resorts. I also loved the parks. Like I fell in love with working at Epcot and Animal Kingdom, but I wish that I would have done one of the treat shifts. I dropped it because I was so overwhelmed by trying to find out like where I was supposed to get my costume and like where I was supposed to clock in because I had never worked there. Magic Kingdom has a whole other level below it that most people don't even realize. And I was just very overwhelmed. So I wish I would have just been brave enough to figure it out and done my little treat shift in my cute costume. It's definitely like something that I regret not doing.
Yeah. I feel like those are also just so fun as a guest because I've been to a couple of them, and the cast members just, for the most part, I feel like they always all seem like they're having a good time, but at the parties or the after hours events, they just look like they're having such a good time.
Yeah, because it's so different than what most people normally do.
Yeah.
Like you're just giving out candy and it's so fun and you're wearing the cutest costume ever. So, oh, if you didn't know, any uniform that you see a cast member wearing is called a costume. Everything on Disney, like verbiage, is all like stage talk, like on stage, on off stage, wearing a costume, clocking in, clocking off, like all that different stuff. Like it's all Broadway theater type verbiage because Disney is a show. So when you go there, it's supposed to feel like a show. We're putting on a show. We're not being fake most of the time. Have a magical day. But it is a show.
It's a show experience.
Yeah. Like the 4 keys of Disney, or 5 keys now that they run their company off of, they added a 5th key during COVID. The original 4 were safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. So like that's how the importance and all those things. But they added the 5th key of inclusion. So they lightened up on their Disney look policy, which is like, how you're supposed to maintain yourself, your hair, your nails, things like that, your makeup. And they lightened up on that heavily when the parks reopened, which is great because it was very, very, very strict. But yeah, so those are the 4 keys, but show is a big one that they run their parks off of.
And I feel like that's the kind of stuff that people don't realize. Like Disney has put so much thought and effort into those things. Like it's not just like, hey, you're rolling up to a theme park and hop on this ride. Like everything is thought out. There's so much detail behind it. Even I remember we've talked before about character interactions. So talk to us about that role of characters and attendance and things like that, because that's all very specific as well.
Yep. So when you're a character performer, so there's face characters and fur characters. So fur characters are going to be like Mickey, Minnie, Goofy. Anyone who is like wearing something that like covers their entire face is a fur character. And then a face character is going to be like the princesses, the princes, the villains, characters like that. And then they have their attendants. So they all have kind of their own language. I've never worked in the performance or entertainment roles, so I only know like from my other friends that have done it. But there's a lot of like nonverbal communication that happens because guests are typically right in front of you. But I hear it is a very, very challenging role. No matter if you're face or fur, you're dealing with a lot of elements as far as like weather, guests, really pushy guests, like guests not being appropriate. And it's a very hard role from what I've heard. I always dreamed about being a face character. I've had a lot of people be like, oh, like you must be friends with Cinderella, because that's what you say. Like you're never like, you are not that character. You're just friends with them. Like that's how you would describe it to someone that you know. I always wanted to do that, but I'm really glad that it never worked out.
In one of our episodes with Jen, we told the story, everyone's favorite story, about Mickey and how crazy it was that we saw Mickey 2 days in a row at 2 different parks in 2 totally different areas. And Mickey was trying to tell us he remembered the kids from the day before. And when we were just telling the story, I was like, we were literally like playing charades. And I remember you were like, yeah, he's smart. And we were like, you remember him. What? We're like, what's happening? What is he trying to say?
Yeah.
And even the cast member was like, I remember the first day, like Mickey was saying, like, I want a note card to sign for Josie's class. Because they had brought the birthday cards for Mickey for his birthday. And I was like, this is so fascinating. Like how they have to like, you don't even have any kind of like facial communication, like zero idea of what someone's trying to communicate to you aside from some kind of like arm and body movement. Like that must be so incredibly difficult.
Yeah, it's like a whole language that they have to learn and study, and and learning the signatures is like a really big thing. So yeah, that's like a totally different, like all encompassing role that's like so important. And I'm really excited to see that they're finally bringing back like almost all of the entertainment. I miss it so much. I like live for the day that Festival of Fantasy can roll down Main Street again. That's one of those shows that I just sob the entire time. And Brian has not seen it because my boyfriend was not a Disney person until we met, and now he loves it. Like he will go to Hollywood Studios any day and sit at Baseline Tap House, like sign him up.
Do you know I've never been to Baseline?
Oh my God, you're like the Baseline girl. You would love it. You were like their ideal person. We have to get you there.
Yeah.
We'll go.
Also, literally, I just had the goosebumps just like thinking about Festival of Fantasy, and my friends listening that know my love of Festival of Fantasy, like I know the hand movements as the princesses go down Main Street. It is
or the guy behind Ariel with like the spinny thing.
Yes, that Festival of Fantasy and Happily Ever After, for whatever reason, are just like will live literally in my heart for the rest of my life. I'm actually currently wearing a Happily Ever After sweatshirt from Pixie & Co. because I bought the whole set, the entire outfit. I needed all of it.
I love it.
So actually you brought up a really good point about the training and whatnot that the CMs do for being friends with a certain character or being an attendant. And I know you have said in the past that studying for being a server at Disney was also like super intense. And that's something that I feel like people always rave about at Disney, like the level of service that they get in any kind of dining experience. What is that training experience like?
Oh, so it really like it's different. Like there is a level that is similar between all the different restaurants, but then the training I had to go through at Tiffin's because it's a signature restaurant. So there are only 8 signature restaurants at Walt Disney World, maybe 9 now. I'm not sure if Steakhouse 71 is a signature restaurant, but I believe there's only 8 signature restaurants on Disney World property. And that's a whole other level of training. The food, the wines, like all the different ingredients that you have to learn about that you've truly never heard of in your entire life, especially at Tiffin's, because Tiffin's is a restaurant that was inspired by the Imagineers' travels when they were designing Animal Kingdom. So you find a lot of cultural but approachable food. Like it's very like culturally appropriate to the different countries that you find or continents that you find in Animal Kingdom.
But I mean, there was something that I was like, Katie, what is that? What is in this plate?
Yeah. So they have such crazy ways that they like prepare different foods that you've had before, like parsnip puree, but you would think it was mashed potatoes, like really crazy stuff. So the training is very, very intense. You have to learn the menus front and back, the wine list, the cocktails, what goes into them. You just have to truly know everything. Then you also have to know all about allergies. There's a certain level of training for that. Tiffin's, like I said, was a bit different than other restaurants I've worked at because it has like a less than 50% success rate that you actually make it through the training.
That's wild.
And yeah, it's really, really intense. You have to do like your test is like serving the managers, and they just ask like the most intense questions. You're serving the managers and the chefs, and they want to make sure that you're ready and you know everything. Like it's the most intense dining experience, and most of the time, like any normal guest, it would not be that intense, but it would be different levels of that.
Right.
But they just want to make sure that you're ready and that you're set up for success. But you
might have KG and you might have Neil Patrick Harris, so you got to be ready for anything in that mix.
Yeah, for real. You have to just be ready for everything while dealing with like several different people at the same time and allergies and preferences. So it's definitely intense, but I feel like it is definitely appropriate because you will encounter like all those different situations.
I can't even imagine. And I feel like every single time I dine anywhere at Disney, I was like, man, they are just so good.
Mm-hmm.
every aspect of the dining experience. Knock on wood, I don't think I've ever had a bad dining experience at Disney, but every great one that I've had has been because the cast member was great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, try this or try that, or how are you feeling about this? How are you, like, always feels like they're making a customized experience for you, not just like, here's the menu. What do you want? Great. I'll be back with your water. They
Mm-hmm.
actually, I almost feel like they always want to like get to know you almost, which
Mm-hmm.
sounds like silly, but that's how I always feel. Like the last time we went, Jimmy, Kelly, and I ate at California Grill, and the server that we had was incredible. He actually was from, I forget if he was from Massachusetts or New Hampshire, or like, was born in Massachusetts, grew up in New Hampshire. And by the end of our reservation, we were like all laughing. We were shooting the shit, and he was like, "I just love when people from Boston are here. This is so fun." Like, they genuinely want you to interact with them. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like standoffish at all, which I just always
Mm-hmm.
think makes the experience that much more special.
Right, for sure. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad that you've like had all. I love hearing about all your good experiences because even though I'm not a part of it, even though I like to in my heart think that I still am, because I always talk about Disney as like we, like I always say we,
Yeah.
but then Brian's like, you don't work there anymore. And I'm like, I know,
Like,
but
yes,
it's
I
so
do.
hard to, yeah, it's so hard to like switch because it was like my whole life for so long.
Yeah.
So it's been like a really difficult transition because like it's not we anymore. Like that's them and I am me. And now I'm just a pass holder.
Which is also incredibly exciting.
Oh yeah. Being a pass holder is so fun. I love it.
Now, so since you are a former cast member, are there any like must-dos, traditions, things that you have that when you go now as a guest, you're like, oh, I have to make sure I do X, Y, or Z when you go to the parks?
Probably like eat a bucket of popcorn
Mm,
for sure.
yes.
I bring my popcorn bucket everywhere I go. Catch me getting my $1.25 refill. When I was on the college program, it was like 50 cents. So inflation is definitely real. I just love to just be there. There's so many times probably more times than not, where I go to the parks and I don't even do anything. Like, I just want to be there. I just want to do a lap, walk around, eat the popcorn, maybe like have a Mickey bar or whatever it is, and just like take it all in. Honestly, I just love it. It's like how I like recharge the magic that I hold within. Is just by like being there.
I love that. And I feel like so many people that we've talked to so far on these episodes have said that. They're like, I could just spend time on Main Street in Magic Kingdom at the hub. Like, I could just be there. And I think
Mhm.
that speaks volumes to the experience and the atmosphere at Disney World, where there is so much shit to do there. From the second you walk in
Seriously.
the door to the second you leave, there is so much you can do. And so many people choose to just be there.
Hmm.
Don't have to run around, don't have to spend all this money on food and merch and all this extra stuff. They can just actually
Hmm.
be happy and recharge and like feel the magic just being within the gates.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely a lot easier too because I live here. So for us, like there's no pressure. Like if we don't do anything, it's fine because we can just come back the next day or
Yeah.
whenever. So that's definitely one of my most favorite parts about living here is it's just there's just no pressure. Like if you go and you only get to like do one thing or you don't get to get on what you wanted because Rise is down or whatever it is, there's just a lot less pressure, which has been a huge learning curve for Brian because growing up, he came here as a guest and then he lived here for several years and like only went to Disney like once. And then we met. And when we first met, I was technically still a cast member and able to use my benefits and get us into the parks for free. And he would get so stressed. I'd be like, let's go to Magic Kingdom. I just made a reservation. He's like, for when? I'm like, today. And he's like, what? And he would freak out and pack this like backpack and just be like so stressed about it. And the more we've gone, the more he's like, oh, okay. Like, oh, like it's fine. Like it's chill, it's casual. We just want to go on Flight of Passage and anything else we get to do is a bonus. Like I've taught him the way that I think it's best to like navigate the parks is just to like, what do you really want to do today? Oh, I really want to go on Pirates. What do you really want to do today? Well, I really want to go on Big Thunder. Okay, perfect. Like those are the two things we're going to focus on and anything else we get to do is a bonus. So I
Yeah.
think it's been fun to kind of like see Disney through his eyes now as like a
Yeah.
new lover of the parks. I feel like he loves it too, not as much as me, but we'll get him there.
Don't worry, Brian. You've got time. And
I think he's on his way. He really loves it.
I love it. And I feel like that also is something that I've talked to so many people about, especially even just starting the podcast of like, so many people build up the pressure and the suspense almost of Disney and what this trip has to be. And like you said, that pressure can make it really stressful. So trying your best to not let that get to you is actually going to be incredibly helpful and relieving overwhelm and like having the trip actually be what you want it to be, like really fun and really magical.
Definitely. No, I definitely agree. It's just like so hard because one thing like I always would tell myself as a cast member, if I felt like I wasn't like appreciating it as much as I thought that I should, because I feel very lucky. Like I made this life for myself and nobody did it for me. And I took the leap to move here and do that and stay here when none of my family lives here. Like I'm on my own down here. But at the same time, everyone else, there might be someone that only gets to come once in their whole life. Like they save their whole life to come on this trip, tens of thousands of dollars. Disney is not cheap. And I fully realize that. So that's why as a cast member, like I just always wanted to like make people's experiences so magical, because I might be one of the only people that they remember from their whole trip. I want to be a high on someone's trip. Like I don't want to be one of the low points, or if they're having a low point, like I want to figure out how to make it back into like a high point, because not everybody gets to experience coming to the parks as often as we do. Like me, because I live here, and you, because you do DVC and you make it a point to come on tons of trips, which I love because I get to see you more than anybody else.
Yes, absolutely. So before we wrap up, because I have a couple last few questions for you, anything else that you want to share from like your cast member experience, tips, tricks for people that you think people should know from a cast member POV?
That is a great question. I would just say my biggest tip, like from a cast member perspective, is just really practice patience, because you just don't know how your days are going to go. And you also don't know how anyone around you, how their day is going or kind of what they're going through.
Yep.
I will say, like, around you when you're there as a guest, like you don't realize like how many people around you are like having a really hard time. Like maybe they're there on a Make-A-Wish trip and you don't realize it. And maybe you see them getting a special treat or special attention that like maybe you feel obligated to because you also spent a lot of money to come here. So I would say just practice patience. Try to be really patient with everyone you encounter that day, from cast members to other guests, and just be gracious and happy to be there, because you are very, very lucky to be there.
Absolutely. Plus 1,000 underscore exclamation point perfection.
Period. Send it away. Yeah.
Done. And then what about advice for if someone came to you and said, Katie, you worked for Disney for 8 years. I'm thinking about applying. What would be some advice you would give someone thinking about working for the mouse?
I would say through the interview process, just be yourself and really, truly look inside and figure out if it's for you, because it is truly like a lifestyle. And I don't think that it's for everybody, but I do think that I feel like I could like pick someone out in a crowd that I'm like, you would be so great at Disney. Like you would just love it. I would just say be yourself. Truly decide if you are a people person. You have to be a very social, upbeat, bubbly people person, because you are going to encounter a lot of people that are going to try to break your spirit. And just have thick skin and just be yourself. Just be yourself truly, because they can see right through it. The Disney recruiters are recruiting thousands of people a year.
I was just going to say, I can't even imagine how many people they phone screen, interview, that go through their process.
There are 75,000 cast members at Walt Disney World.
Just at Disney World?
So, just at Walt Disney World.
Holy shit. That is so many people.
Yeah. So just be yourself. And if it's something that you really want, don't give up. It doesn't always happen the first time, which is really hard. I faced a lot of rejection at my time at Disney. So I got into the college program on my first try, which doesn't always happen. Over 50,000 students applied to the college program every single semester, and less than 3,000 get approved. So I was really lucky to have gotten accepted the first year that I applied. And then with the management internship, I applied for several semesters and got really, really close, like was down to like being a finalist and didn't get it. And then finally got it my third attempt trying and got a position better than I could have ever imagined. I got a year internship rather than 6 months, like a lot of other people. I ended up in the World Showcase, which like I could never have chosen a better location. It was such a dream. Up until that point, I had only ever worked in the resorts. So I was really excited to go to the parks and really excited to go to Epcot. So yeah, I would say just be yourself, have thick skin, and don't give up if it doesn't happen the first time. If you really want it, go after it.
Stick to it. I think that's
all
a great
of our
life
dreams
advice.
can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Okay, Walt said it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are you ready for our speed round of favorites?
Okay. Yes. Dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun. And this can either be like CM perspective or just Katie's perspective as a lifelong Disney lover.
Okay.
What's your favorite restaurant on property?
It's either the California Grill or the Grand Floridian Cafe, which I feel like everyone sleeps on that restaurant.
Never been there. I'm going to add that to the list. I'm going to leave this episode with a long list of things that I have not done yet, and I must do.
It is incredible. It's such a good restaurant. They have the same amazing quality of food as all the other Grand Floridian restaurants, like Citricos and Arcuzzi's, but at a much more reasonable price point. And they have breakfast and lunch. They have breakfast all day. So like through lunch, you can get breakfast. And then they reopen for dinner. And they just have the best food. They have this lobster thermidor burger that I just feel like if you like seafood, you'd really like it. It's just really, really good.
Pro tip. Love it. Favorite park?
Oh, it's so hard. I guess like gun to my head, I'm going to say Magic Kingdom.
End of discussion.
Period.
Do you know
it's just so hard.
Do you know that so far everyone has said Magic Kingdom?
I mean, I feel like if you took Magic Kingdom out of the mix, like everyone has a favorite, but like if you have to choose one.
Let's do that. If you had to pick one other than Magic Kingdom, then what would you pick?
Then I would pick Epcot.
Love it.
I just love the World Showcase. I have so many memories there as a kid. Me and my like siblings, when we would go for cheerleading, which I know you guys have talked about, like the cheerleading experience at Disney. I also experienced that on the cheerleader side, and we would go for those trips, which, fun fact, that's the only reason we were ever able to afford to go to Disney was because I would literally stand in Medford Square and run through traffic to collect money in my cheerleading costume, or stand in front of Johnny's Food Master and old people would make me do a cheer so that they'd give me $1. Never forget.
Yes.
But I just remember we would go to all the countries and get candy from all of them and then go back to the All-Star Resorts, which is like super nostalgia. And we would just like try all the candy from the different countries. And so I just have so many pictures like in the World Showcase with like Viking hats on and like next to that giant troll in the Norway pavilion and with sombreros and in the UK pavilion. And it just has such a special place in my heart. So I would definitely have to choose Epcot, specifically the World Showcase.
I also feel like the majority of my memories at Epcot are World Showcase. Like sometimes I forget that there's all the other stuff.
Literally.
I forget that there's more to it.
Future World? What's that?
Yeah. Who is Figment? How about favorite ride at each park?
Okay. I feel like mine are like controversial and people are going to be like, what?
Yes. Give them to me.
At Magic Kingdom, it's definitely the Carousel of Progress. I'm like classic. Like you're going to see that's definitely the theme, like classic Disney. Can I do rides that like don't exist anymore?
Oh, yes. I love that.
Okay. So at Magic Kingdom, it's definitely the Carousel of Progress. That's a must do for me every single time I go to Magic Kingdom. We use it as like snack time. We just like to chill out in there. And I just love the show. For me, it's so nostalgic. I will truly shrivel up and die if they ever get rid of it.
Disney, take note. Katie cannot shrivel up and die.
Like I have lost many things that I've loved at Disney, but I could not stand to lose the Carousel of Progress. So hopefully it just stays forever. At Epcot, my favorite ride is Living with the Land. And I swear I love thrill rides. I love like ups down roller coasters and stuff, but I just really like Living with the Land. I like seeing all the crazy like plants and the Mickey shaped lemons. Like it's just so cool. But I am excited for the Cosmic Rewind, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride. I'm really excited for that. At Animal Kingdom, my favorite ride is Kilimanjaro Safaris. I love seeing all the animals. I just love how it's so different every time you ride it. And it's just so fun. My biggest recommendation is to go when it's raining. If you've never been on the ride.
Why?
Brian and I purposefully
go when it's raining?
Because the animals love the rain. Because it's so hot in Florida that it's like a chance for them to cool off. So we've seen the coolest things in the rain. Like we've seen the lion at the top of is it called Kopari? the line at the top of like the rock formation. We've seen hippos rolling in mud. We've just gotten to see so many cool things and cool animals that like love to come out when it's raining because it's a chance for them to cool down. So that's my biggest tip. Go
That's a great
when it's
pro
raining.
tip. And what about Hollywood Studios?
Oh, that's tough. At studios, well, my favorite ride was the Great Movie Ride. And it's gone now. But I do like Mickey Runaway Railway, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. It had to grow on me. I did not like it at first. So my second favorite would be Toy Story Midway Mania.
Yes. And I've been told, because I haven't seen the pre-show for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, I've been told that it like changes the ride. So I'm curious to see when we go back if I can get in there and check out the pre-show.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so many things that I got to do like obviously before COVID. So they did like a preview, like a cast member preview for that. And you got to have like the whole experience. It's just really cool because the way that like the pre-show ends and you're kind of like entering into the story. Whereas right now, like you're kind of just walking onto all the rides, which I feel like really takes away from them because Disney's all about storytelling and like all the pre-shows of the rides like really set the tone. So I've also heard, which I just found this out, so we're going to have to look for this, but apparently on Mickey's Runaway Railway, there's a whole second story that's happening within the ride that you don't notice. So apparently you have to watch. So apparently Pluto is in every single scene of the ride, having his whole own storyline.
All right,
that
Pluto.
You have to like look out for him. Yeah. So I need to look for him the next time I go on that ride. I just learned that on Disney Food Blog, who I'm obsessed with her.
Yes.
I'm just in love. She does a lot more than just food. I feel like they could change their name, but
agreed.
But yeah, she was the one that gave that tip that there's a whole second storyline, which is very interesting because on Great Movie Ride, there was two storylines. You could either do the gangster scene or the Frontierland scene. There was two different scenes because the cart would break off.
Right.
So I feel like they did that as like a ode to Great Movie Ride, having like two different stories that you could get depending on what cart you sat on the ride. So you need to look for that. Look for Pluto. Operation.
Add it to the list. How about your favorite event?
Ooh, my favorite event, like at Disney, well, like festivals and stuff too.
Yeah, it could be like festivals, after hours, parties.
Oh, that's such a hard question. I love the Flower and Garden Festival. I'm obsessed with like the flowers that they do on the water that like when you enter the World Showcase, like those giant like flower arrangements that are like the groovy flowers. I love those. But definitely my favorite event is the OG Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Not this Boo Bash. The Halloween party. The original Halloween party. Like the Hocus Pocus Castle show and stuff. It's just amazing. Hallowishes.
I really hope full parties come back. I did get a ticket to the very merriest after hours for when I come down in December. So I'm very curious to see if it's going to be similar to the Boo Bash that we just did in September, or it sounds like there's going to be a little bit more. So I'm very curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm curious. I will be interested to watch everybody's reviews. I didn't do the Boo Bash or anything because I just knew I wouldn't be able to look at it subjectively and like judge it fairly because I just felt like they took away too much for a higher price tag, which is like a whole separate conversation. So I couldn't do it, but I'll be interested to see it with the Christmas party.
We will be watching.
Yeah. I mean, I heard they're bringing back the parade, so that's really exciting.
Tears
or like a
tears
parade.
Will be
I'm
shed.
not sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's the exact same parade, but I know they're bringing a parade, which is really exciting because they haven't done any real parades yet.
Yeah. Now, we know you love a good popcorn bucket. What is your favorite snack?
Definitely popcorn.
Definitely the popcorn.
At Disney.
Now, do you do the souvenir buckets? Do you do the straight up round, thick popcorn bucket? What do you go with?
We just like the classic shake popcorn buckets. I did for a second get into like the souvenir ones. And then I realized I had a bunch of plastic buckets that were super oddly shaped and did not fit anywhere. So I stopped collecting those. So we just have the normal bucket that has like the magic band lid top, you know, the little like Mickey top.
Oh, yep.
And we use that until they tell us we have to buy a new one. Because technically a popcorn bucket is only supposed to be refillable for your stay. But locals buy a bucket, and then eventually once that bucket is very far out of circulation, typically they'll be like, we can't serve you anymore in this bucket and you have to get another one. I'm ruining the day that happens because Brian is going to be so mad. I'm trying to warn him. I'm trying to tell him. He's like, no, they'll never. I'm like, no, they will.
Well, I feel like especially with like everything now is 50th anniversary. So like Can't really
Yeah,
sneak that in.
we haven't had any issues because they're not actually serving the popcorn in the buckets right now. They're just
Oh,
giving
that's
you like
right.
a little carton that you can like pour in.
Yep.
So we haven't had an issue because we're like, we refill, and you kind of just like whip it up. But once they tell us to get a new one, we will. But I mean, I don't mind. I think the 50th ones are really cute, but
Same. Speaking of items that you like to have, favorite piece of merch or collectible item either that you have that's like really special to you or something that you like to collect when you go to the parks?
definitely pins. I have a lot of Disney pins. I don't collect them as much as I used to. Disney pin trading is not at all what it used to be. They used to come out with tons of like pin sets that were like specific for cast members. So as cast members, that was one of my jobs I took on as a leader in Germany. I'm like, I want to be responsible for pins and pin trading. And they're like, okay, girl, you can have it. Like, none of us want to do that. So you would like order pins and then you'd go and pick them up and it would have all the new pins in it. And everyone would wear them on their lanyards and people would pin trade with you. But they don't do that anymore. So I do love all the pins that I have. I have 2 giant boards of pins, and one of them I only collect really like princess pins, and then I have other special like pins that I've gotten from Disney. Like when I was at Traditions, I won a pin from like answering a trivia question, so that's really special. When I was a manager at Disney, I took a special class on the history of Walt, and we got like a special Marceline pin.
Oh.
That's where he was born, in Marceline, Missouri. I went to the hometown museum in Marceline, Missouri, so I got a pin when I went there. It is in Podunk, Missouri, by the way. But it's really cool. You can see like his original house and everything, and like the dreaming tree, like where he like dreamt up Mickey Mouse. And it's really, really cool. Everything there is named after him. So pins for sure are my favorite collectible thing. I also like love ears, but I have very sensitive head. So I can't ever really wear ears. I instantly get a headache. So pins.
Pins. Love that. I've actually the last couple years started to pick up pins, and I feel like they also do a great job with pins in terms of like holidays, resorts, like special things. So like you can make it fun as you go, and whether it's like you as an adult or with kids, like that could be like a really cool tradition. Like every year you go, you get a pin or something along those lines.
Yeah, they always have like the year pins and the holiday pins, like you said. My pin boards are like mostly princesses. One of them is all like hidden Mickey sets, which are the ones that you used to be able to get from a cast member. And they're categorized vertically by princess and horizontally by pin set.
Okay, this is me officially requesting. I need to see pictures of this.
Yeah, it's very, very OCD. And it's hard because not every pin set has every princess. So like there are some gaps because like that pin doesn't exist, and it's very distressing for me because I wish that they were like all the same. But yeah, I will send a picture.
All right. How about favorite non-park activity?
Ooh, definitely like taking full advantage of like the free resort perks, like the movies under the stars. We did that a lot. Like when I first moved back down here, we would go and like watch the movies under the stars, and they'd give out like popcorn, or going and roasting marshmallows at Fort Wilderness.
Oh, that's
I love taking advantage of the resort perks that are like technically supposed to be for like the guests that are staying there, but like also they're just like free for anyone.
Pro tip, add that to your list.
Yeah, there's so many fun things that you can do at the resorts. Just resort hop, check out other resorts. Go walk on the boardwalk all the way around Yacht and Beach. See everything that they have there. There's so much fun stuff. Oh, jelly rolls if it ever reopens.
I think it just recently opened, I think like a week or 2 ago.
No way.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my
also
God,
on the list.
Add it to your calendar. Yeah, you have to go when you come. Oh my gosh, yes.
Because that's my birthday week, so we can go and celebrate my birthday.
So fun.
I can't wait.
I'm so down. It's so fun. If you've ever wanted to be in the smallest room filled with 400 people all singing Disney's music, singing their absolute heart out, you'll be in heaven. And well, before COVID, they had like free popcorn machines, and you could just go like fill a thing and like eat free popcorn. It was just the best. It's such a magical place.
Yes. All right. How about favorite Disney movie?
Ooh, okay. Like I feel like most people like don't think of it as a Disney movie, but The Parent Trap.
Yes. Love The Parent Trap. Lindsay Lohan version.
So good. Oh yeah.
Okay. Just clarifying for my soul.
Yeah, definitely the Lindsay Lohan version.
Now, so we know you love princesses. Favorite Disney character?
Like not a princess?
Could be a princess or non, or you could do one of each.
Well, my favorite Disney princess is, I struggle with this because it's Rapunzel, but before she existed, it was Cinderella. But Rapunzel has so much more of a personality, and I just feel like we really like vibe. So
Yeah.
definitely Rapunzel. And other like favorite Disney character, I just love Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse.
Yes.
Just like whenever I see them, I just like instantly get tears in my eyes. Like I like am immediately a child, and I'm like, oh my god, like hi, like he waves to me, like it's so bad, but I just love Mickey Mouse so much.
Same. And so I got these little guys hanging in the back.
What about a character that you don't like?
Oh, yes. Do you have a character you don't like?
I have a character that I loathe.
Tell me.
Clarabelle the cow. She shows up in every parade that's like a
Yes.
holiday parade and every show, and she just needs to go. She's got to get out of here.
I will say I agree. I just don't understand the whole Clarabelle cow anything.
Okay, I will say she has become a big symbol for like the LGBTQIA plus community.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah, so she has become like a big character for them. So like love her for that.
Yeah.
But in everything else, she's got to go. She's just got to exit. I can't stand her. I don't know why. She just annoys me so bad.
That's so interesting to know. I'm going to have to look into that because I feel like she's just very random.
Yeah. Isn't she like Goofy's wife or like Goofy's girlfriend or something?
I don't know. I feel like she's definitely in that like realm, like Pete and Goofy and Max and Clarabelle.
Yeah.
They're all kind of like in that, I don't know, bucket or like realm of Disney.
What character do you not like? Do you have one that you don't like?
Ooh, that's a good question.
The tables have turned.
I would definitely agree with Clarabelle because I feel like she's just feels very random to me. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Okay. Think about it and let me know on the next episode.
Yes. Tune in for the next episode of what I don't like. That'd actually be probably a fun episode of like the anti episode.
That would be really fun.
Now, because keep in mind, Katie is I'm going to get her on this podcast as often as she'll let me. So be prepared for that. The most heartbreaking question: happily ever after, wishes, or some other fireworks show?
I thought you were going to say the evil news show that exists. I was going to gag.
I wasn't even going to give enchantment as an option.
So I knew that you were going to ask me this question, so I've like thought about it. And I love Happily Ever After. Don't get me wrong. The message is unbeatable. It will make you cry. I feel like they did a really good job taking the bits and pieces that people loved from other shows and putting it into Happily Ever After because they knew that people were going to riot when they got rid of Wishes. But I still have to say Wishes, but only in conjunction with Celebrate the Magic. So like they would play Celebrate the Magic and then it would go straight into Wishes because this was the time when projection shows and fireworks were separate. Wishes, Happily Ever After was the first time they like combined them. But I would still say Celebrate the Magic, Wishes combo. And if that doesn't count, then I'll say Happily Ever After.
I just have so many feelings about Happily Ever After.
I know, me too. I got totally duped. I thought it was coming back.
Yeah, I was going to say for everyone listening. So for one of the streams of Enchantment, Katie and I FaceTimed for like a live reaction to Enchantment. And we did both say we'll give it a fair shot and see it in person and see what happens because Happily Ever After is so great. But we also
I won't even see it until you come. I'm going to wait. I'm waiting to see it until you come so that we can just see it together.
We can just hold hands and cry that it's not Happily Ever After.
Literally.
But we also did both fall prey to that terrible, awful, such mean meme going around that like there was like a fake post, quote unquote, from Disney.
It looked like a guest communication. Yeah, like that Disney would have made. Like it was perfect. Like they had it down to the font, the colors. Like it looked so real. And I didn't even question it. Like I did not even question it at all. And I sent it to you. I posted it on Instagram. And then immediately we were shattered. Like our hearts were shattered because everyone's like, this is fake.
And I truly was like, who would do something so cruel?
Literally.
Because that's how I felt. I was like, this is Cruella DeVille and not okay.
I was like, Disney is listening. Oh my God, Disney's listening. And then they were like,
like, just kidding. Here's Enchantment.
They're like, you thought. Yeah, for real. But yeah, we'll give it a chance in person, but I do not have high hopes.
We'll see. All right. And now my favorite question for all of the podcast episodes. What is your favorite magic moment at Disney World as a cast member?
Ooh, my favorite magical moment that I ever experienced, like working as a cast member, because I have like one as like working as a cast member for sure.
Yeah, let's do one as working as a cast member and one as a guest.
So one like working as a cast member was this experience that I got to have helping a Make-A-Wish family. So we had a chef who worked with us in the Germany Pavilion that had met this family when he worked at Magic Kingdom like several years prior. And they loved him so much that they would always come and eat at the Germany Pavilion once he moved. Well, their daughter ended up being diagnosed, unfortunately, with like a really rare terminal disease that ate away at like her vision and like just kind of like started shutting down like all of her bodily functions and organs and things like that, which is extremely sad. So they were coming on a Make-A-Wish trip and he wanted to make it like super special. And he knows that like I am like all about the magic. Like I'm 100% in, because a lot of times, like I said, there's a couple different types of people that you'll find working at Disney, and some are like really into it and like want to go all out. And some people are like, all right, whatever. So he came to me and we conjured up this plan where we got Snow White involved, who meets at the well outside of the Germany Pavilion. We got her involved and we actually went into our merchandise store in the Germany Pavilion. There is a merchandise store that sells like all like Swarovski crystal items. Mm-hmm. And we got her a really pretty tiara and we got Snow White to give it to her and like make her like the official like Germany princess of the day.
Oh
we
my God.
Made this whole certificate. We made up all this stuff and it was so special. And we were all sobbing. I was sobbing. The Snow White was sobbing, all the like families. Yeah, it was, I know, I'm like literally tearing up, but it was like so magical and so special and like something that I will never forget. And the family actually wrote us cards and sent them in to us. Like, and so I still like have the card. I have a whole box of my Disney memories from like working there and stuff. So I still like have that card. And that was just like a really, really special experience, like to be a part of, because I know that like that's something that like they will remember forever. So it's just special that like we got to do that for them.
Absolutely. And any other magic moments that you've either experienced as a guest or on the other side?
I will say it's my Disney dream to someday be the Grand Marshal of the Festival of Fantasy Parade, to be chosen as the Grand Marshal family. Like that's like a huge dream of mine.
How does that happen? How do we make that happen?
So I don't know. It has a lot to do with like guest relations at Magic Kingdom. Like they pick a family, but there is like a certain person who does it. So like if you know people, like you can kind of make it happen. It's kind of like a being in the right place at the right time type moment, like being there at rope drop and getting chosen. But there can be some like finagling that goes on there. I don't know if I still know anyone that could like kind of make that happen, but that's definitely a dream of mine, is to like someday be the honorary Grand Marshal family that like comes down in the car and like waves to everybody in the parade. I would literally just sob the whole time. I wouldn't even get to experience it because I would be like a wreck.
Just waving out in the double-decker bus that comes down.
Yeah. So that's definitely like a future like magical moment that I hope that I get to experience now that I'm a pass holder.
That's actually a really great additional question, like a future magic moment that you hope to experience.
Yeah, so definitely that.
Amazing. So before I do a quick outro, anything else you want to add? Anything that we didn't chat about yet?
I think that anything we didn't chat about yet, they'll just have to wait for the future episodes. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast, download the podcast, tell your friends, and yeah, just stay tuned. There's more to come.
Amazing. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on and doing this episode. Like we said, we will drop into the show notes Katie's Instagram handle so you can follow her on Instagram, her YouTube channel so you can check out all of her incredible content there. Katie, do you want to tell everybody about your goal by Christmas for YouTube?
So my biggest goal for my YouTube channel is to hit 50,000 subscribers by Christmas. By the time we're recording this, I am almost at 28,000. So I'm definitely well on my way. So go and subscribe to my channel so that I can hit my goal.
Yeah, so if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. And definitely stick around because Katie's going to be back for more episodes and it's going to be great.